We're talking about turning points in history. So the Marshall Plan speech was something in June 5, 1947. Okay, so this is from George C. Marshall Foundation. You can find that location at marshallfoundation.org. Now, go to Building International Bridges, and you'll see this photo. There's George Marshall, and this is in January 1947. So 5 months before. Marshall is in Cleveland talking about points that turned up to be in this big document. Now, you can get there by going Building International Bridges. This is the home page in the corner. That's where home is. And you can find historical photos right there in the center. See the click on historical photos. So we'll click there. Come on, click. And then you get to this photo. So, talking with Mr. Y, that seems to be a real turning point in history. Why was Marshall talking to a Midwestern crowd? That's what could be discussed. Why was it so important? And what was different about this crowd than, say, a crowd in either Chicago or Los Angeles or New York? Why was he here? I think it was a test to see if it was a receptive idea, whether these people might be receptive. And so now you get into the demographics of who was a member of Cleveland Council for World Affairs. And then the next thing to do is to go on Cleveland Council World Affairs. And once you're in there, I believe they don't have a great setup, but that they do mention my grandfather, because if you go to, I'm trying to think, some sort of, it's the things with donations. They have some sort of donation thing going on, but this right here is the Cleveland Council. They have a contact us form, and from there you can learn more. Phone number down there. So this right here is what they said, they claimed. It started in Cleveland. It started in Cleveland. What started in Cleveland? That sounds like turning point. Okay, so this document is kind of too big for this. The people that disintegrated the atom now have the mission of integrating. Disintegrated the atom now have the mission of integrating humanity. This is Osvaldo Arana. Osvaldo Arana. Okay, so now I've taken 3 minutes of your time to get around to all this, but I think this is still shorter than all the previous efforts I've made. This is the story of the Report to the World, the 21st Annual Institute of the Cleveland Council on World Affairs. So this means that for 21 years they've been trying to get their local population to understand what does the world expect of the U.S. and what is the U.S. going to do about it. Okay. Tonight we meet as problem-solving creatures. This was Henry Luce. What's he doing in Cleveland? It started in Cleveland. That's what they're saying. So if you're talking about a report from the world, right? You're talking about looking at what are turning points in history. This was an event that was broadcast across the nation. It was like, what were we going to do in the post-World War era now, the World War II era, now that we have the United Nations. Even with the United Nations, the U.S. had to take certain kind of steps. The audience, a hall, a city, the nation, the world. Thousands see and hear. No speaker ever had a more thoughtful and discerning audience, wires Times correspondent in Cleveland, than do the men who are addressing more than 20,000 Clevelanders this week. The people who come to hear are earnest, intent, responsive. Evening sessions are attended by all types of men and women. Okay? So this is where, what's his name? Marshall is speaking. So the question comes, all right, what is the next thing? All right. Anyway, I hope you have a good time looking at all this. And I will share this information with you. That right there is my grandfather. They say council president. Woodrow Wilson said that human freedom consists of perfect adjustment of human interests and human activities and human energies. Insofar as these words could describe a city of 1.3 million, he could have applied them as well to the native city of, his Secretary of State, Newton Baker, who in 1923 helped found Cleveland's Council on World Affairs. So now we're finding out, why did this happen in Cleveland? Baker, the Secretary of State, says, Marshall, why don't you go to Cleveland? If it plays in Cleveland, they're more likely to be receptive. And we'll be able to show that the center of the United States is not as isolationist, is not willing to withdraw again. We're going to remain engaged. We should be the first time that the victors invest in the well-being of the vanquished. Okay. Hope that helps. And this document is going to be photocopied and mailed to Dennis, Mr. Y.